Hello, I'm Beth Clarke, and for those who don't know me, my husband's Neville standing there in the green shirt. But first of all, I wanted to talk about David Uren. Many of you would know David Uren, who used to be here as a minister. It's special to meet on these Sundays as we worship our Lord and share the ways God has been working in people's lives. Last week we were in Bendigo for the 60th wedding anniversary of Neville's sister and her husband, held on the Saturday in the Eagle Hawk Baptist Church. The next day on the Sunday, we went to the Eagle Hawk Uniting Church, as this is the church where David and Merle Uren worship. David was the minister here some years ago. He sends his greetings to you, Malcolm.
Oh, good, thank you.
As you move into retirement. And he asked to send his greetings to all of Warrnambool. Well, we're part of Warrnambool, so we give you his greetings. I had a copy of Marge Crothers' book on chaplaincy to give to David, as he is mentioned in that book. I have known David since my teenage years. He actually started his primary teaching career at Nullawarre. But after a short time there, he was transferred to a Lingamite school near Cobden. David worshipped at Cobden Methodist Church, where my family also went to. Many years later, our paths crossed when David and Merle and their young family were in Papua New Guinea at the Rabaul Memorial Church in East New Britain. At the same time when Neville and I and our 3 young children were in West New Britain at Malalia United Church Mission Station. And the reasons I mentioned this is because tomorrow is the 15th of September. Did you know that? And David Uren will be 96 tomorrow. And Synod recognised just recently his 60 years of ordination, as they did our friend down here for 50 years, didn't they, Elaine? Now, after tomorrow, I've lost my thought now, the following day, Tuesday the 16th, is the 50th anniversary of the independence of Papua New Guinea. Neville is wearing a shirt depicting 30 years of independence. So that shirt's 20 years old. He was in Papua New Guinea at that time with a work party helping to rebuild the Wronga Theological College buildings after they'd been so badly damaged by the volcano eruption the previous year. But back to the 50 years. Many celebrations of these 50 years have already been held in every state in Australia, which has allowed time for many to return to Papua New Guinea for this occasion, which will be tomorrow. Especially the New Guineans who live in Australia and those who have a Papua New Guinean spouse. Some of our friends have already returned to Papua New Guinea for this special time, including a friend from Hahndorf in South Australia, whose eldest son is actually the Deputy Prime Minister of Papua New Guinea. Malcolm often says we know a lot of people. Now, Harold has had a huge task in the organising of gatherings and the celebrations, and this has all been alongside all his other ministerial duties in Papua New Guinea. Many of Papua New Guinea leaders over the past 100 years would have commenced their education at church mission schools. We know of the various areas where the Methodists were working, the Anglicans were working, and also the Catholics. Papua New Guinea leaders at that time and the Australian leaders were rather wise in that they didn't have everybody going into the one area, so we'd have 3 or 4 different denominations, but they carved up some of the areas. So Methodists, you go there. Anglicans, you go there. Catholics, you go there. A very interesting time. So many of the leaders today and in the past started their education at church mission schools. But on the day of independence, September the 16th, 1975, We were living at the United Church of Papua New Guinea and Solomon Island. George Brown passed a training college at Moyne-Warrnambool, where Neville was the principal. The Papua New Guinea flag had been flying for 12 months since self-government was declared, and on the day prior to independence, we attended a small ceremony next door at George Brown High School. The Papua New Guinean flag had been taken down, and the Australian flag, which I saw being mended that morning at the school assembly, had been raised on the flagpole. Now, during this very short ceremony, this Australian flag was taken down by a New Guinean, neatly folded and placed in the hands of a white expatriate. And then the Papua New Guinea flag was raised again. At midnight, the bells were ringing out at the high school, and our 8-year-old son Philip was out ringing our pastor's college bell. And soon after that, we heard a choir from the Wronga Theological College marching around the various houses, singing "Freedom, oh freedom," a different freedom from what Malcolm was talking about. Hundreds of students were up very early that morning as they walked the 19 miles into Rabaul for the parade and the celebrations. The day was greatly celebrated with no real incidents. But the following day, on the Sunday, Reverend Albert Torbarua conducted a service in the large church at the high school, also attended by the Theological College and our college students and their families. Albert was the principal of the Theological College, and he spoke of his feelings on seeing the Australian flag lowered by a New Guinean and given back to an Australian. And then the Papua New Guinea flag was raised. With tears running down his face, he patted his own shoulders and he said, "This is where the responsibility now lies." So for many, independence meant freedom to do as they choose. But as for many others, they knew that the governing of their own country brought a huge responsibility. Because Papua New Guinea was now an independent country and not a territory of Australia, we couldn't return to Australia until we were given Australian passports. My one last comment. Australia would be a greatly improved country if each person could recognise in their own lives that with freedom comes responsibility. Also, if we can live with God's wisdom to make these right decisions and choices in our lives, our country would be greatly improved. End of my story. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.